So trauma is the residual energy that is stuck in your body after a violation, after a dangerous experience, or after you kind of gone into shock, right? You essentially felt unsafe. And as a result, all this energy of unsafety was locked in your body. The essence of trauma is about like disassociation, right? Think about like this overwhelming experience. When you're that overwhelmed, what happens is you split off and you fragment yourself so that all of the emotions, the sounds, the images, the thoughts, and all of the sensations related to the trauma kind of take on a life of their own. They become this own entity that can almost feel like it's controlling you at times. And basically, all the sensory memories of the trauma, they come into your present life where they're constantly being relived. So you notice these triggers, or you notice these physical manifestations, or you notice that when you smell this thing, you go back here. Or when you hear a siren, you go into a panic attack, or whatever it is, right? So what happens is when we don't heal that trauma, we're constantly reliving it in little ways. And as long as the trauma is not resolved, that stress hormone, right? So the adrenaline and the cortisol, it keeps circulating. And because it keeps circulating through your body, the emotional responses keep getting played like a broken record. So it's this weird thing where, and it sounds scary, but don't worry, we can fix it, where when you don't heal your trauma and it keeps getting triggered, you just keep replaying the trauma and it gets more and more and more stressful in your body. And the stress the stress manifests more heavily and heavily and heavily over time because you're not fixing it. The brain areas that are affected by the stress response are the amygdala, the hippocampus, and the prefrontal cortex. So in the brain, what trauma looks like is your thinking center is underactivated, right? Have you ever noticed in a moment where you get really emotional or you get really stressed or really traumatized, you feel like you can't think clearly? That's what happens, right? That's the prefrontal cortex. The emotional regulation center, which is the anterior cingulate cortex, that is underactivated. So you can't regulate your emotions. This is especially the case for women. There's been a lot of research, and I'm talking about it in my book. I'm not going to go to it, and this could be definitely an episode for another time. But it is science that women cannot deal with this much stress. Our nervous system is not able to cope with the same amount of stress as women can. So our emotions rev up. We start crying, we start getting really emotional, and we can't contain them. The fear center, which is the amygdala, that is also overactivated. Now, the key thing is that when you don't heal your trauma, this fear center that's overactivated, which is the amygdala, right? When you keep getting triggered by things, the amygdala keeps firing. And therefore, in situations that say your brother, let's just say, or your boyfriend would not find fear-inducing at all, you could find really fear-inducing because your fear receptors become so sensitive to the things around you.